Good morning, boys and girls. I thought I would do a little introduction of the next project that I'm going to be undertaking. This was given to me by a friend of mine here in town. He also likes to restore old radios, and I asked him, I said, well, why did you give me this? And he said, well, it needs some work. It's huge, it's heavy, and it needs a special man to work on it. And I think, I don't know if that was a compliment or what, but anyway, he gave this to me. And as you can very well see right now, the knobs are missing, the screws are missing. That is a common thing among old radios, knobs and screws. Someday, some discoverer will find a lost cache of radio knobs and screws. There will be massive amounts of them somewhere, because they go somewhere. I don't know where they go, but they just go. And anybody that's dealt with radios know what I'm talking about. There's at least one knob missing. So we know we're going to have to go with the knobs. We're also going to have to go with a new dial cover. But before I get further into it, this is a General Electric, a 1936 General Electric E91 Colorama. This is the only year that this was made, and that's the reason that I'm going to undertake this, is because it is such a unique radio. Now, there's several videos out there, not necessarily on the restoration, but on the post, and got some pictures and what have you. So I just felt like that since this was such a unique product, that it deserved a little bit of attention. Now, whether or not I can do it, I don't know. There's several things that we're going to have to go in and check and make sure that it is doable, and we'll get inside the cabinet here shortly. But anyway, this was in 1936. And that was about the same time that the Magic Eye or the Cat Eye or whatever tube came out. The tuning eye came out on a lot of radios. And so GE decided that they would have a better answer to it. We're going to come up with our own thing, you know. So what they did is they came up with what was called the Colorama, and I'll get into it just a little bit further of how it uses the Colorama for its tuning shortly. But anyway, the E91 is 9 tubes. There's another one out there that's an E101, which is very similar, and you will see those out there on the internet also. But it has 10 tubes, and it has an AFC circuit. This E91 only has 9 tubes and does not have the AFC. Okay, but the E91, it shares the same schematic as a console. There's a console that's a Colorama E95. Now, the only difference between the E91 and the E95 is, well, there's actually two. One is the E95 is in a console, and this is a table model. It's almost a console within itself. But the E95 has a 12-inch speaker, where this has an 8-inch speaker. Okay, and like I say, this is almost a console within itself, because it's just slightly over 20 inches high. It's slightly over 15 inches wide, and it's slightly over 11 inches deep. So it's a pretty good sized little radio. Now, it runs on 115 volts. It has a universal transformer in it, which will go up to 130 volts, which you have to remove the cover, and we'll get into that as we do the testing and what have you. So this thing will pull anywhere, it will run 105 to 110 watts. So we're looking at close to an amp when this thing is up and running. It has 3 bands. It has a broadcast band, 540 to 1680 kilocycles, and then the next band is 1680 to 6000 kilocycles, and then 6,000 kilocycles to 18,000 kilocycles, or 6 megacycles to 18 megacycles. So the output, it goes out to 6.5 watts. That's undistorted, and it will go to 14 watts max. This is a model. It all came with metal tubes in it, and we'll look in the back a little later on in this. The Colorama, I'll do a brief description of it right now, but when we get into the restoration of it, we will cover it in a lot more detail. But anyway, there's 7 lights in the dial itself, and 4 of them are red, 3 of them are green, and it's controlled by a and I know I'm going to mess this word up, Saturable-core reactor. Saturable-core reactor. And basically the circuit is it's a transformer, pretty much what it is, but it works kind of like a rheostat. The tube 6C5, it's a triode. The grid is controlled by the AVC circuit. So when there's no signal present, which is roughly, the AVC will be -5 volts or so, the tube will conduct and will create the maximum plate current, and it's also going to put the current through the primary of that reactor. Well, that lowers the impedance of the secondary side, so that makes the 4 red lights light up, so there's no signal, so the dial will be red. Well, when there's a signal present, when it goes up to a negative 25 and 30 volts negative, then the tube stops conducting. Well, the impedance of the secondary goes up, so the red lights quit working and the green lights come on. So that's how it tunes. And a good description of that is on Sean Barton's website. You can Google that and see a good description of he did an E91, and he's got it's on the website, got good pictures, got good documentation. So it's Sean Barton, a good website. So let's pull this thing out of the cabinet and look at it. As you can see at the cabinet, it's got the customary paint on the cabinet. Every radio has some paint on it somewhere or the other. Looks like scuff here. Character marks, as I call it. That's where it's been, something's got up against it. Got some veneer loose here. I'm not sure if the joint's actually coming apart there, or if it just needs some filler. Some scuff marks. Let's see. Grill cloth. It's not too bad. It's a little dirty. I'm not sure if that's some scuff marks or what. We may be able to get that out. Top is in pretty good shape. The cabinet is in pretty decent shape. Has to have some work done on it, but it is in pretty good shape. Looking in the back, you can see wire. I believe that's some form of antenna up in there. Comes down and around. Some glue, a glue block missing. This piece across here is missing. but it's tongue and grooved, so it should go right back in without an issue. If I can get that wire out of there. So it's just a matter of gluing it back in. All right, let's get this off the table and get a look at the chassis. Here's a look at the 8-inch speaker. Speaker looks pretty good from the back side. It does have a plug. I apologize for the lighting. This is 5 o'clock in the morning, so I'm having to use a lot of artificial light here. But it's got the plug, which I like. I don't like a speaker that has to be hardwired in. But contacted the name leaves me right now for the reproduction for the cover for the dial, and he is going to post it back on eBay today, and I'm going to order one of the reproduction covers there. Here's the chassis pulled out. This is the tone control, which actually has a potentiometer. And let's see, I'm trying to think, this is the music, and then when it gets over to a certain position, it has a switch and it clicks into speech. And this is the band selector, which rotates the drum that has the and that is very tight, and it is spring loaded, so it doesn't always come back to where, so good cleaning and maybe some lube on that will take care of that. This is the tuning, which is the tuner, and this is the on-off switch and volume control, and it is dead locked, cannot turn it. So I don't know if I can free that up, or am I going to be able to have to replace it or whatever. But this whole mechanism will come off, and as you can see here, there's the lights. Now they're not colored. This is looks like maybe the original. It's the red one. This one's missing. This one's a totally oddball one. These are number 40 bulbs, and I believe well, these are going to have to be replaced. These little bumpers. I guess you could probably just use some sort of tubing for that. But these are number 40 bulbs, and I believe I can get some glass stain and stain some number 40 bulbs, and we will replace all of those. So let's flip it around and we'll look at the top side of it. Okay, this is looking at the top of the chassis. Here's the Colorama from the back side, the tuning condenser. Going to definitely have to clean that up a little bit. This wheel is rubbing on this one, so that I don't know if it's been dropped or what have you, but it does turn, but it seems to be rubbing a little bit. But I think a little TLC will make life a little better. As you can very well tell, rubber wires. Really hadn't looked underneath that much yet. Look, here's something that's a little different for me, but what do you see? One, two, three IFs. Okay, here's the transformer. My understanding, it's universal. You can change the voltages. This had even a metal 6L6 for the output tube. It's the filter caps. And this is the Saturable-core reactor. I'll have to, that's a new term for me, so I will have to learn that. So, you know, you can see all these little spots. And everybody, even on, you know, I talked about paint on all radio chassis. Now you saw the paint on that cabinet was blue, okay, and you see these little white dots. Well, now how did paint get on the chassis in here? And you'll see it on cabinets also. This is not paint. This is not paint. And everybody thinks it's paint, but it's spider poop. There's your lesson. There's your lesson for today. Let me mesh my condenser so that I don't wreck it. So let's go underneath and see what it looks like. There's not much rust. Maybe a little bit right here, but I think this should clean up fairly well. So let's go underneath and see what we have under there. Good googly moogly. Oh man. All right. One of my biggest concerns at this point in time is this reactor up in here. That's one of the first things I'm going to be checking. And the documentation that I found on Riders has a lot of good. It has the DC resistances and what have you. So should be able to check those out. A lot of dog bones, a lot of rubber wire. Doesn't look like there's a whole lot of work's been done. Maybe, I don't know. That looks like there's been some tape, the infamous taping of the wires. That's a no-no, guys. But, you know, in the day, that might have been all they had. Who knows? Could have been a World War II fix. You never know. But we'll ohm out all the transformers. There's some spiders there. And let's see, there it is. There's the can-ohm resistor. That thing's a foot long. It's a good 8-inch long. So we'll have to check that out. Let me see if we can get a better. There it is. The can-ohm resistor. And that terminal is open and that one is there, so that tells me that this can-ohm is probably bad. So we'll look at replacing all of that with some modern replacements. Look like I don't know. I know at least one has been replaced. So anyway, that's about it, guys. So the first order of business is doing some general cleanup to make sure that I get all the. Doesn't look like any rodents have been in it, so that's a good thing. And so the first order is to get some of those checks on the saturable core reactor. It's hard for me to say anyway. And the transformer and some of the coils, and just see where we're at with that. And I'm going to. There's 2 tubes in there, so I'm probably going to have to order all the tubes. So I'm going to wait till after I check the coils and the transformers before I start ordering the tubes. So I've already ordered or going to order the faceplate. So I'm pretty much committed to doing this now, even if I have to do something to that reactor, which it can be fixed. But it's a tar-filled baby, and it's a tar baby, and so it's not going to be the most fun thing. And I've read 2 articles, and both articles I think they've had to replace or repair at least the primary. So I'm hoping that this one is good, and we'll know more when we start doing some troubleshooting. But anyway, thought I'd give you a first look at what we're going to be up against, and this should be fun. And so we'll end this one here, and the next one will be troubleshooting and just taking some measurements and some documentation. So, from Larry, from the hills of Tennessee, thanks for watching.